6 months passed like a whirlwind. The galaxy changed more in that half-year than it had in the previous 1,000 years. The Galactic Council reorganized itself from the ground up, and humanity stood at the center of that transformation. Taemin walked through the halls of the new council building on Unity Station. Yes, Unity Station, the former progenitor archive, had been moved into orbit around a neutral world and converted into the new headquarters for galactic government. The symbolism was intentional. Everything humanity did these days was intentional. The halls were different now. Where before only the powerful species had large offices and meeting rooms, now every member civilization had equal space and equal voice. The Talarian delegation passed Taemin in the corridor, and their leader, a small being named Kira, waved enthusiastically. 6 months ago, the Talarians had been scheduled for resource extraction. Now they were full council members with protection under the new laws. "Ambassador Park," a voice called. Taemin turned to see Misan hurrying toward him. She carried a datapad and wore the proud look of someone with good news. "The latest report from the Development Integration Committee. We've processed 23 new membership applications this month alone." 23? Taemin smiled. "That's more than the old council accepted in a decade, and every one of them is going through the proper channels now. No exploitation, no resource claims, just genuine integration and support." Misan pulled up statistics on her pad. "The progenitor technology sharing program is working beautifully. Every species gets access to the basic archives, enough to improve their living standards and defensive capabilities." They reached the main council chamber together. Inside, the session was already in progress. Taemin took his seat, which was now permanently designated for Earth's chief representative. Around him sat delegates from hundreds of worlds, all equal in voice and vote. Today's topic was enforcement. The new council needed ways to ensure the reformed laws were actually followed. Some of the older species were already testing boundaries, trying to find loopholes in the new system. "The Centauri have filed a complaint," Speaker Vorath announced. He still held his position, but with greatly reduced power. Now he was more of a coordinator than a ruler. "They claim the new trade restrictions are hurting their economy." A Centauri delegate stood up. "Our entire civilization was built on resource acquisition from unclaimed systems. Now you've made that illegal. Our economy is collapsing." "Your economy was built on theft," said a small alien from a species Taemin didn't recognize. "Taking what wasn't yours just because you had bigger ships. How is that different from piracy?" "It was legal under the old system," the Centauri protested. "The old system was wrong," Taemin said, standing up. "But we understand this transition is difficult. That's why the Development Integration Committee has proposed economic assistance programs. We'll help your civilization find sustainable economic models that don't require exploiting others." He displayed plans on the main screen. Programs for shared resource development, where species worked together to extract resources from genuinely unclaimed systems and divided the benefits fairly. Technology exchanges that helped all civilizations grow together. Trade agreements based on mutual benefit rather than one-sided extraction. "This is charity," the Centauri delegate said bitterly. "No," Taemin replied. "It's cooperation. It's what the progenitors intended. And it works. Look at the projections. Within 5 years, participating in these programs will make your economy stronger than it ever was through exploitation." The vote passed. The Centauri didn't look happy, but they accepted it. They had learned that fighting the new system only made things worse. The progenitor AIs were watching, and they enforced the rules with absolute fairness. After the session, Taemin found Bora in the security center. She commanded a new joint task force, bringing together personnel from dozens of species to protect developing civilizations. On the screens around her, Taemin could see her teams in action across the galaxy. "How's the Talarian rescue operation going?" he asked. "Almost finished," Bora replied with satisfaction. "We caught a group trying to set up illegal mining operations in their system. Old habits die hard for some species, but we shut them down fast. The Talarians will keep their resources. Any resistance? Some. But when they saw our ships backed by progenitor defensive systems, they surrendered quickly. Word is getting around. You can't break the new laws without consequences anymore." Taemin watched the screens. Bora's teams included humans working alongside former enemies, Centauri soldiers and Andrelian specialists, all united under a common purpose. 6 months ago, that would have been impossible. Later, Tae-min met with Hyun-woo and Yu-jin in one of the research laboratories. They were working on the next phase of progenitor technology integration. "We're being careful," Yu-jin explained, showing him complex diagrams. The archives contained technology that could be dangerous in the wrong hands. Weapons that could destroy stars, engines that could tear holes in space-time. "We're only releasing what the galaxy is ready for." "And the medical technology?" Tae-min asked. "That's going faster," Hyun-woo said excitedly. "We've already shared treatments that have eliminated diseases on 17 worlds." The progenitors were masters of biology. "Within a year we could see lifespans doubling for most species, and that's just the beginning." "What about Earth?" Tae-min asked. "How are things back home?" Yu-jin smiled. "Earth is thriving. President Dae-jung sends his regards, by the way. He said to tell you that humanity is proud of what you've accomplished." Tae-min felt warmth in his chest. Home. He hadn't been back in months, too busy with the work of transforming the galaxy, but he could see Earth through the station's sensors, that beautiful blue marble spinning in space. It looked different now. Ships from a dozen different species orbited it, bringing trade goods, cultural exchanges, and genuine friendship. The mockery was gone. The threats were gone. In their place was respect, earned through courage and principle. That evening, Tae-min stood in the observation deck watching the galaxy turn. Nari found him there, bringing 2 cups of earth tea. "Thought you might want this," she said, handing him a cup. "Thank you." He sipped it, enjoying the familiar taste. "It's strange. 6 months ago we were begging for scraps. Now we're helping to run the galaxy." "You changed everything," Nari said. "Not just for Earth, for everyone. All those species that were being crushed by the powerful, they have hope now." "We changed things together," Tae-min corrected. "Humanity changed things, and we did it not by becoming like the old council, using force to get our way. We did it by standing up for what was right." "The progenitors chose well," Nari said softly. "Maybe," Tae-min replied. "Or maybe they just gave us the tools. What we did with those tools, that was our choice. We could have used that technology to become the new tyrants. Instead, we chose to lift everyone up with us." Nari looked out at the stars. "Do you think it will last? The reforms, the new council, all of it?" "I think it has a chance," Tae-min said. "As long as we remember what it felt like to be mocked and dismissed. As long as we remember what it's like to be the small species facing the powerful. That memory will keep us honest." The next day, Tae-min gave the first Galactic Unity address. It was broadcast to every world in the coalition, reaching billions of beings across thousands of light years. He stood at the podium in the Grand Hall, wearing his Earth robes proudly. The cameras focused on him, and he spoke from the heart. 6 months ago, humanity came to this council as supplicants. We asked to be recognized as equals, and we were laughed at. They mocked our technology, our history, our very right to exist as a free species, and in that mockery they made a mistake. They thought we would accept their judgment. They thought we would go home defeated. Tae-min paused, letting the words sink in. Instead, we stood up. Not just for ourselves, but for every species that had ever been dismissed or exploited. We found the strength left behind by the progenitors, and we used it not for conquest, but for justice. We forced change not through violence, but through principle. He looked directly into the cameras. This message goes out to every developing civilization watching. You are not alone. You are not worthless. The powerful may mock you, but that mockery says more about them than it does about you. Stand up, demand your rights. The galaxy is big enough for all of us to thrive together. And this message goes to the established civilizations. Cooperation is not weakness. Sharing is not loss. When you help others grow strong, you become stronger too. The old way was based on fear and force. The new way is based on hope and partnership. Choose wisely. The broadcast ended. Tae-min stepped away from the podium, not sure what the reaction would be. Then the messages started pouring in. From Earth, from the Talarians, from 100 other species. Messages of thanks, of hope, of determination. That night, as Tae-min prepared for sleep in his quarters, he thought about how far they had come. From mockery to triumph, from victims to leaders, from standing alone to standing together with the galaxy, the Galactic Council had mocked Earth's appeal. They thought humans were primitive, weak, and insignificant. Then the humans stood up and everything changed. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was exactly how it should be. News traveled fast in the galaxy. Within hours, every major civilization knew what had happened in the nebula. A human expedition had found a progenitor archive. The ancient systems had recognized humanity as worthy inheritors. And Centauri warships, pride of one of the most powerful species in the Council, floated helpless in space. The Galactic Council called an emergency session. This time it was they who demanded humanity's presence. Speaker Vorath sent the message himself, and his tone was very different from before. No mockery now, just barely controlled panic. Taman stood on the bridge of a new ship. In just 2 weeks, using the manufacturing templates from the progenitor archive, Earth had built the indomitable spirit. It was beautiful, sleek lines combined with human engineering and ancient technology. It could cross the galaxy in days rather than weeks, and its weapons could match anything the Council had. More importantly, it was a symbol. Humanity was no longer the primitive species begging for scraps. They were players in the galactic game now, and they held very powerful cards. "Ready, Ambassador?" asked Captain Haywan Park, the ship's commander. She was young but brilliant, handpicked to lead this historic voyage. "As ready as I'll ever be," Taman replied. He wore new formal robes designed by Earth's best artists. They combined elements from every human culture, a reminder that humanity spoke with one voice. Bora stood beside him, along with Hyunwoo and Mi-sun. They had all come for this moment. Nari monitored communications from the ship's advanced systems, her eyes bright with excitement. The journey to the Council station took 3 days instead of 3 weeks. When they arrived, Taman noticed something different immediately. Where before there had been casual dismissal, now there was attention. Guard ships moved aside quickly. Docking authorities gave them priority clearance. Workers stopped to stare as the indomitable spirit settled into its berth. The Council chamber was packed. Every delegate had come, along with observers from 100 other species. The seats were full, the air thick with tension. Taman walked down that same long platform, but this time his footsteps were confident. This time no one laughed. Speaker Vorath sat on his throne, and his silver face was tight with worry. Around him, other Council leaders looked equally disturbed. The representative from the Andrelian hegemony kept fidgeting. The Talarian ambassador stared at Taman with something between fear and hope. "Ambassador Park," Vorath began, and his voice lacked its previous arrogance. "You've caused quite a disturbance." "We discovered an ancient archive," Taman replied calmly. "We were found worthy by the progenitors themselves." "Is that a problem?" "The progenitors are legends," an Andrelian delegate said weakly. Mi-sun stepped forward. "Then explain the ships. Explain the technology. Explain how our scanners show progenitor systems activating across the galaxy, systems that have been dormant for millions of years." She displayed a holographic map showing dozens of points lighting up throughout known space. "What have you done?" Vorath demanded. "We woke up the Guardians," Hyunwoo said. "The progenitors didn't really leave. They just ascended to a higher form of existence, but they left behind systems to monitor the galaxy, to make sure their principles were followed." Taman activated his datapad. Holographic documents appeared in the air above the Council floor. "These are records from the progenitor archive. They show the original purpose of the Galactic Coalition. It was meant to be a cooperative alliance where all species worked together for mutual benefit, where the strong helped the weak grow stronger, where resources were shared, not hoarded." He looked around the chamber. "But that's not what the Council became, is it? Somewhere along the way it turned into something else. The powerful started exploiting the weak. Advanced species claimed the resources of developing worlds. Membership became a privilege for the elite, not a right for all." "This is outrageous," the Centauri representative stood up. "You have no right to judge us." "We're not judging you," Taman said. "The progenitors are. Their systems have been monitoring coalition activities for millennia. They've recorded every violation of the original principles, every illegal resource claim, every species crushed under the weight of superior force. And they're not happy about it." The chamber erupted in noise. Delegates shouted, argued, demanded explanations. Vorath struggled to restore order. Then the lights changed. A presence filled the chamber, something vast and ancient. Holographic figures appeared, the same glowing forms Taman had seen in the archive. The progenitor AI had come to the Council itself. Silence fell like a hammer. Every being in the chamber stared at the ancient ghosts floating among them. The progenitors spoke in a voice that resonated in everyone's minds, translated into every language simultaneously. Children of the galaxy, we left you gifts and guidance. We hoped you would build something beautiful together. Instead, we see corruption and cruelty. This saddens us. The gateway systems, another progenitor AI said. The trade routes you depend on. The jump gates that connect your civilizations. All of these are our technology, left in trust for you to use wisely. But trust can be revoked. Panic spread through the chamber. The entire galactic economy depended on those systems. Without the jump gates, travel between distant sectors would take months or years instead of days. Trade would collapse. Civilizations would be isolated. You can't do this, someone shouted. We can and we will, the progenitor AI replied, unless changes are made. The coalition must return to its founding principles. Cooperation, not exploitation. Protection of developing species, not predation. Fair representation for all, not rule by the powerful few. Vorath stood, his silver face now pale. What exactly are you demanding? Reform, Taman said, stepping forward. The progenitor AIs had shared this plan with him during the journey. Complete restructuring of the council. Equal voting rights for all member species, regardless of technology level or military power. Protection laws for developing civilizations. Resource sharing agreements. And enforcement mechanisms to ensure the rules are actually followed. And if we refuse, the Andrelian delegate asked. Then the jump gates close, Misun said. The progenitor systems go dark. You'll have all the military might you want, but nowhere to use it. Your empires will shrink to whatever you can reach with your own technology. And that, for most of you, isn't very far. The delegates looked at each other. The reality was settling in. They had spent so long being the powerful ones that they had forgotten what it felt like to be vulnerable. Now a species they had mocked just weeks ago held their entire civilization hostage. There will be riots, someone said. Economic collapse. Our people won't accept this. Your people will adapt, Taman said. Just like humanity had to adapt when we realized we weren't alone in the universe. Just like we adapted when you rejected us and threatened our home. Change is hard, but it's necessary. Vorath sat back on his throne. For a long moment he said nothing. Then slowly he nodded. Very well. We'll put it to a vote. Full restructuring of the coalition along the lines Ambassador Park has suggested. All in favor? The vote took an hour. Delegates argued, threatened, pleaded. But in the end, economics won over pride. Every civilization voted yes because the alternative was unthinkable. Motion passes, Vorath announced. He looked at Taman, and there was something like respect in his 4 eyes. You've won, Ambassador Park. The coalition will reform. Earth will have full membership and a seat on the new council. Are you satisfied? Not quite, Taman said. There's one more thing. The humans will serve as a bridge species. Any developing civilization that seeks membership will work with us first. We'll help them integrate into galactic society properly, without exploitation or mockery. We'll be the advocates for those who have no voice yet. Because you remember what it's like, a small alien in the back said quietly. It was a Talarian. One of the species Earth had discovered was also being targeted for resource claims. Exactly. Taman nodded. We remember, and we won't let it happen to others. The progenitor AIs faded, but their presence remained, watching. The council session ended with Earth's delegation receiving applause, real applause, from many of the smaller species present. The powerful looked defeated, but the weak looked hopeful for the first time in centuries. As Taman left the chamber, Vorath approached him. You realize you've made enemies today, the speaker said. I realize we've made changes that needed to happen, Taman replied. Enemies are temporary. Justice lasts forever. Vorath laughed, a genuine sound this time. You humans. So idealistic. So annoyingly right. The galaxy won't know what hit it. That's the idea. Taman smiled. The Endeavor's light docked with the ancient station through a port that seemed to recognize their ship's intention. The airlock opened smoothly as if it had been waiting for them. Bora went through first, weapon ready, but there was nothing threatening on the other side. Just a corridor that stretched into darkness, then lit up as they entered. The lights were soft, almost welcoming. They revealed walls covered in symbols that flowed and changed like living things. Shunji gasped and immediately started recording everything. This is their language, she said. I've seen fragments in coalition databases, but never this much. They moved deeper into the station. It was massive, with corridors branching in every direction. The air was breathable, kept fresh by systems that had run for millions of years without failing. Taman couldn't wrap his mind around technology that reliable. There, Hyunwoo pointed to a large chamber ahead. They entered and stopped, overwhelmed by what they saw. The room was circular, with a domed ceiling that displayed the galaxy in real time. Stars moved in their orbits and colored lines showed the connections between systems. But what drew their attention was the central platform, where a crystal structure pulsed with gentle blue light. "That's a data core," Yujin said, moving toward it. "A massive one. The storage capacity must be incredible." As they approached, the symbols on the walls began to glow brighter. A sound filled the chamber. Not quite music, but not quite language either. Then suddenly the crystal projected images around them. Holographic figures appeared, showing the progenitors themselves. They looked almost human, Taemin realized with shock. Taller, with skin that seemed to emit a faint glow, but similar enough that he could see expressions on their faces. The hologram showed scenes from their civilization. Beautiful cities, ships traveling between stars, species from across the galaxy working together in harmony. Then the images changed. They showed darkness spreading, conflict growing. The progenitors looked sad in these scenes. One final image appeared, the progenitors ascending, their physical forms dissolving into pure energy, leaving behind their technology and their wisdom for those who would come after. Yunji was working frantically, her translator device processing the symbols. "I'm getting pieces of it," she said. They left this place as a gift. A test, too. They wanted to make sure their technology went to species who deserved it, who would use it wisely. "How do we prove we deserve it?" Taemin asked. Before anyone could answer, alarms blared on Sangwoo's communication device. He grabbed it, his face going pale. "We've got company. 6 ships just dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the nebula. They're Centauri designs, and how did they find us?" Bora demanded. "They must have been tracking our trajectory," Hyunwoo said. "They saw us heading toward uncharted space and followed." Taemin looked at the crystal core. "They were so close. How long until they reach us?" 20 minutes, maybe less," Sangwoo replied. "Not enough time," Yujin said, studying the core. "I need hours to properly interface with this system." Yunji shook her head. "The progenitors wouldn't make it take that long. There must be a faster way. Let me try something." She approached the crystal and placed her hand on it. Nothing happened for a moment. Then the crystal pulsed. Symbols flowed across its surface, too fast to read. Then a voice spoke, ancient and powerful, using sounds that the translator struggled with. "Interesting," Yunji translated. "It says our neural patterns are being analyzed. It's testing us." "Testing for what?" Bora asked. The answer came as the crystal sent out a wave of energy. It washed over all of them, warm and tingling. Taemin felt it touch his mind, not invasive but curious. It seemed to be reading something deep inside him, something about how he thought and felt. Images flashed through his mind. Memories of Earth, of children playing in parks, of his grandmother teaching him to paint, of the first time he saw Earth from space and cried at its beauty. The crystal was looking at what made him human. It did the same to all of them. Then the symbols changed, turning from blue to gold. The voice spoke again. "It recognizes us," Yunji said, her voice shaking with emotion. "It says human neural patterns match the criteria. We have the creativity, the adaptability, the capacity for cooperation they were looking for. We're approved as inheritors." The chamber transformed. Screens activated all around them, displaying information in human languages. The crystal began downloading data directly to Yujin's equipment. Manufacturing instructions, power generation systems, weapons technology, medical advances, all flowing in a river of knowledge. "This is incredible," Yujin said, trying to keep up with the flood of information. "This is centuries beyond what the Coalition has. Maybe thousands of years." 10 minutes, Sangwoo warned. "The Centauri ships are getting closer." "Can we defend ourselves?" Taemin asked. Hyunwoo was reading the incoming data. "The station has defensive systems, but they're dormant. It would take time to activate them fully." "Then we buy that time," Sangwoo said. He was already running back to the ship. "Bora with me. We'll take the Endeavor's light and lead them away from the station." "You can't fight 6 warships," Taemin protested. "Don't plan to fight," Sangwoo replied. "Just plan to run and dodge. Keep them busy while you finish here." Bora was already following him. "We'll give you as much time as we can, Ambassador." They were gone before Taemin could argue. He heard the ship's engines start, felt the vibration as the Endeavor's light undocked and moved away from the station. Yujin worked frantically at the crystal, establishing connections, downloading everything she could. Yoonji helped, translating the instructions that appeared on the screens. Hyunwoo monitored the situation, watching as their small ship faced the approaching Centauri fleet. Through the station's sensors, Taemin watched the Endeavor's light dart into the densest part of the nebula. The Centauri ships followed, their powerful sensors cutting through the cosmic dust. But Sang-woo was a brilliant pilot. He used every trick, every bit of cover the nebula provided. Weapons fire lit up the darkness. The Centauri weren't asking questions. They just opened fire, trying to destroy the human ship. Sang-woo dodged and weaved, the small research vessel dancing between streams of energy that could vaporize it in seconds. "They're trying to hurt us." Sang-woo's voice came over the communication system, "pushing us away from the station." A Centauri voice cut in, speaking accented human language. "Human vessel, you are trespassing in claimed territory. Surrender the progenitor facility immediately or you will be destroyed." Claimed territory? Taemin grabbed the communication device. "You have no more right to this place than we do." "We have the right of superior force," the Centauri commander replied. "You primitives don't understand how the galaxy works. The strong take what they wish. The weak submit or die. Now surrender the facility, or watch your ship be torn apart." Taemin felt rage burning in his chest. This was exactly what they had faced at the council. Might makes right. The strong crushing the weak. The progenitors had left this place to prevent exactly this kind of tyranny. And here it was, repeating again. "How much longer?" he asked Yujin. "Almost there," she said. "The download is at 90%. The defensive systems are starting to wake up." On the screen, Taemin watched the Endeavor's light take a hit. Not a direct strike, but close enough that the ship shuddered. Alarms blared over the communication system. "Port engine damaged," Sang-woo reported, his voice tight. "We're losing speed." The Centauri ships closed in, sensing victory. 6 against 1, and that one was wounded. They moved to surround the small human vessel. Then something changed. Taemin felt it through the station, a vibration that grew stronger. The ancient systems were fully awake now, and they were not happy. The progenitors had built this place with principles, and those principles were being violated. "Download complete," Yujin announced. "Defensive systems are online. Activate them," Taemin ordered. The galaxy learned something that day. It learned what progenitor weapons looked like. Platforms emerged from hiding places throughout the nebula, ancient guardians that had waited millions of years. They didn't use simple lasers or missiles. Their weapons manipulated space itself, creating fields that stopped the Centauri ships cold. Engines died. Weapons powered down. The 6 mighty warships became floating metal boxes, helpless as children's toys. And through it all, the Endeavor's light drifted safely, protected by shields that the progenitor systems had extended around it. The Centauri commander's voice came back, no longer arrogant. Now it shook with fear. "What have you done?" "What is this?" Taemin smiled. "This is what happens when you underestimate humans. This is what happens when you think might makes right. The progenitors left their technology for those who deserved it. Guess who that turned out to be?" The journey back to Earth took 3 weeks. Taemin spent most of that time in his cabin, preparing his report for President Dae-jung Kwon. How do you tell an entire planet that they're about to be treated like a mine to be stripped bare? How do you explain that 8 billion lives mean nothing to the powers that rule the galaxy? When the Horizon's Promise finally entered Earth's orbit, Taemin saw home through the viewing port. The blue and green planet looked so peaceful, so beautiful. Ships moved between the surface and the orbital stations, carrying supplies and people. Nobody down there knew what was coming. 2 hours later, Taemin stood in the emergency session of the United Earth government. The council chamber in Geneva was full. Every representative from every nation-state had come. President Kwon sat at the head of the table, his weathered face grave. "Tell them," Kwon said simply. Taemin played the recording. The room fell silent as the alien voices discussed Earth like it was an empty resource to be claimed. When it finished, the silence continued for a long moment. "This is insane," someone finally said. "They can't just take our planet." "Under coalition law, they can," said Mi-sun Yang, the chief scientist. She stood up, displaying a holographic image of legal documents they had received. "Any system not formally claimed by a coalition member is considered open territory. Without membership, we have no legal protection." "Then we fight," said Commander Jin Ho Song, the head of Earth's military forces. He was a big man with scars on his face from the Unity Wars 20 years ago. We have defenses, orbital platforms, ships. Against what they have? Hyunwoo spoke up. He had been quiet since returning, but now his voice was firm. Commander, I saw their technology. One of their escort ships could destroy our entire fleet. We're not ready for this kind of conflict. So we do nothing? Jinho's voice rose. We just let them come and take everything we've built? I didn't say that, Hyunwoo replied. He pulled out his data pad, displaying images on the main screen. During our trip, I analyzed data from our deep space probes, the ones we sent out to explore beyond our mapped regions. Look at these readings. The images showed strange structures on several distant worlds. They were clearly artificial, but unlike anything human or even Coalition in design. They were old, older than anything Taemin had ever seen. What are they? President Kwon asked. Ruins, Misun said, leaning forward to study them closely. But the architecture, the energy signatures, these match descriptions I've read in Coalition databases. Descriptions of the progenitors. The word sent a murmur through the room. Everyone had heard of the progenitors. The ancient race that supposedly created the first faster-than-light technology. The ones who built the great jump gates that connected distant parts of the galaxy. The species that vanished millions of years ago, leaving only legends behind. The progenitors are myths, someone said. No. Hyunwoo shook his head. The Coalition doesn't like to talk about them, but the evidence is real. They existed, and if these ruins are genuine progenitor sites, they might contain technology far beyond what the Council has. You want us to go treasure hunting? Jinho asked. While alien ships are probably already on their way to claim our system, I want us to find the one thing that might save us, Hyunwoo said. If we can reach these ruins, study them, maybe even unlock some of their technology, we'd have leverage. Something to make the Council reconsider. It's a desperate plan, President Kwon said. We're in a desperate situation, Taemin replied. He had been thinking about this during the whole journey back. We have nothing to lose by trying. If we do nothing, we lose everything anyway. The president looked around the room. A vote, then. Do we authorize an expedition to these coordinates? Every hand went up. Even Jinho's, though he looked unhappy about it. Then we move fast, Kwon said. Commander Song, I want you to prepare our defenses anyway. If hostile ships enter our system, I want every gun we have ready to fire. Misun, you'll lead the analysis team to prepare for studying whatever we find. Hyunwoo, you're going on this expedition. Pick your team. I'm going too, Taemin said. Ambassador. No, Taemin interrupted gently. I stood there while they mocked us. I heard them laugh at everything humanity has achieved. If there's a chance to prove them wrong, I want to be there. Kwon nodded slowly. Bora Choi goes with you. I won't send our ambassador into unknown space without proper security. The meeting ended with organized chaos. People rushed to their assignments. Taemin found Hyunwoo in the corridor. How long do we have? He asked. Coalition ships could be here within a month, Hyunwoo said. Maybe less if they're in a hurry to file their claims. The ruins are 2 weeks away if we push our engines hard. That's cutting it close. Everything about this is cutting it close. 3 days later, the Endeavor's light left Earth orbit. It was a research vessel, fast and equipped with the best scanning equipment humanity had. The crew was small, Sang-Woo Han as pilot, Yujin Baek as engineer, Yoonji Shin as their linguistics expert, plus Bora, Hyunwoo, and Taemin. As Earth shrank behind them, Taemin thought about Nari Lee. She had wanted to come, but someone needed to stay behind and monitor Council communications. She had hugged him before he left, something she'd never done before. Come back, she had whispered. Bring back hope. The journey was tense. Every day they expected coalition ships to appear on their sensors. Every day, Sang-Woo pushed the engines a little harder, and Yujin worked miracles to keep them running. Yoonji spent her time studying every scrap of information about the progenitors. They were peaceful, she told Taemin one evening in the small common area. At least that's what the legends say. They believed in cooperation, in species helping each other grow. They would have hated what the coalition has become. If they were so powerful, why did they disappear? Taemin asked. Nobody knows. The coalition says they died out. But some records suggest they simply left, moved beyond physical form, or traveled to another dimension. There are even hints that they left safeguards behind. Things to prevent the galaxy from falling into tyranny. Safeguards that failed, Bora said, cleaning her weapon at the table. Look at the council now. Maybe the safeguards are waiting, Yunji said. Waiting for someone to activate them. On the 14th day, they reached the coordinates. The nebula stretched out before them, a vast cloud of cosmic dust and gas that glowed with inner light. It was beautiful and terrifying. Reading massive structures ahead, Sang-woo reported. They're big. Really big. The ship moved slowly into the nebula. The clouds parted and then they saw it. A space station that dwarfed anything humanity had ever built. It was geometric, made of materials that seemed to shift between metal and energy. Lights flickered across its surface in patterns that looked almost like writing. Mother of Earth, Yujin whispered. We found it, Hyunwoo said, his voice full of wonder. We actually found a progenitor archive. Taemin stared at the ancient structure. Somewhere in there might be the knowledge to save Earth. Or it might be empty, a dead monument to a vanished race. Only one way to find out. Take us in, he ordered. Let's see what secrets the ancients left behind. The giant doors of the council chamber opened with a sound that echoed through the massive hall. Ambassador Taemin Park stepped inside and his breath caught in his throat. He had seen pictures of this place, but nothing prepared him for the reality. The chamber was enormous, bigger than any stadium on Earth. Thousands of seats rose up in circular rows, each one filled with an alien being from a different world. Taemin walked forward on the long platform that led to the center. Behind him came Bora Choi, his security chief, and Hyunwoo Kim, the scientist who understood alien technology better than anyone else on Earth. Their footsteps sounded too loud in the sudden silence. Every eye and every color and shape imaginable watched them. The human delegation wore their best uniforms, dark blue with the symbol of Earth proudly displayed. Taemin carried a datapad with Earth's formal petition for membership. It had taken 3 years to write, thousands of pages describing humanity's achievements, culture, and dreams for the future. They reached the center platform. Above them, sitting on a throne that seemed made of liquid light, was Speaker Vorath. He was tall, almost twice the height of a human, with skin that shimmered like silver. His 4 eyes looked down at the humans with an expression that Taemin couldn't read. So, Vorath said, his voice booming through the chamber without any visible speaker system. These are the humans, the ones who claim they deserve a seat at this council. Taemin bowed respectfully. Speaker Vorath, honored members of the Galactic Coalition, we come before you in peace and hope. Earth requests formal membership in this great alliance of worlds, someone laughed. It started small, maybe just one delegate, but it spread like fire. Within seconds, hundreds of aliens were laughing at them. The sound filled the chamber, bouncing off the walls. Taemin felt his face grow hot. Beside him, Bora's hand moved slightly toward her sidearm before she stopped herself. Vorath raised one long hand, and the laughter died down. Forgive us, he said, though his tone suggested he wasn't sorry at all. It's just that we've never had such an amusing petition. Tell me, Ambassador Park, how long has your species possessed faster-than-light travel? 42 years, Taemin answered, keeping his voice steady. 42 years. Vorath repeated, and more laughter rippled through the chamber. We have members who've had such technology for 42,000 years. And you think you're ready to sit among us? We may be young in space travel, Taemin said, but humanity has achieved much in a short time. We've united our entire planet under one government. We've eliminated poverty and hunger. We've created art, music, and literature that expresses the dreams of 8 billion souls. 8 billion? An alien with purple tentacles called out. We have individual cities with larger populations. What could you possibly contribute to this council? Hyunwoo stepped forward. We can offer unique perspectives on problem solving. Human innovation is innovation? Another alien interrupted. This one covered in what looked like crystal scales. Your technology is primitive. Your ships barely reach half the speed of our cargo vessels. Your weapons are toys. Your medicine is crude butchery compared to our healing arts. Taemin felt anger rising in his chest, but he pushed it down. We're not here to claim superiority. We're here to learn, to grow, to contribute what we can. Every species in this council was once young in the stars. You all had someone give you a chance. That was different, Vorath said, leaning forward on his throne. Those species showed promise. They had something to offer. What do humans have besides enthusiasm and ignorance? An alien that looked like a floating jellyfish spoke up. I've studied their planet. Their history is nothing but war and violence. They've nearly destroyed themselves multiple times with their own weapons. Why would we welcome such dangerous primitives? Our past has darkness, Taemin admitted. But we learned from it. We chose peace. We chose unity. Isn't that worth something? It's worth observation, Vorath said, which is exactly what we'll grant you. Provisional observer status. You may watch our proceedings, but you'll have no vote, no voice, and no protection under coalition law. Your ships may travel through council space, but you have no rights to trade or claim resources. But, Taman started. The decision is made. Vorath cut him off. Return to your little blue world, Ambassador Park. Perhaps in a few thousand years, when you've proven you're more than violent children playing with technology you barely understand, we'll reconsider. Until then, be grateful we're allowing you to observe it all. The chamber erupted in approval. Aliens clicked, buzzed, and whistled their agreement. Taman looked around at the thousands of faces, seeing contempt, amusement, and indifference. Not one showed respect or understanding. Guards appeared, tall soldiers in armor that seemed to shift colors. They gestured toward the exit. The human delegation had no choice but to leave. As they walked back down the long platform, the jeering started again. Words and languages Taman didn't understand, but the mockery was universal. They made it back to their ship, the Horizon's Promise, without incident. The old colony vessel looked shabby next to the sleek alien ships docked nearby. Bora sealed the airlock behind them, and only then did Taman let himself slump against the wall. That went well, Bora said, her voice bitter. Hyunwoo shook his head. They never intended to accept us. This was just entertainment for them. Sir, a voice called from the bridge. It was Nari Lee, their communications officer. She looked pale. You need to hear this. They gathered around her station. Nari played back a recording she had intercepted from council frequencies. The voices were translated by their computer, but the meaning was clear. Earth system is perfect for mining operations. 3 asteroid belts rich in rare metals. And the planet itself? The water? Abundant. We can extract enough to supply 7 colony worlds. What about the natives? What about them? They have no legal standing. Once we file the proper resource claims, the system is ours to develop as we see fit. The recording ended. The 4 humans looked at each other in horror. They're not going to let us keep our own home, Nari whispered. Taman straightened up, feeling something hard settle in his chest. It wasn't despair. It was determination. Then we'll have to make them, he said. Set course for Earth. We need to warn everyone what's coming. As the Horizon's Promise pulled away from the council station, heading back toward their distant blue world, none of them knew they were about to change the galaxy forever. They only knew one thing. They had been mocked, dismissed, and threatened. But humans had a long history of standing up when pushed down. The council was about to learn that lesson the hard way.